Well, ladies and gentlemen, I guess one of the few things we can say about this home opener for the New York Jets is at least they have their starting quarterback at the end of it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rich Sports Talk after a wild opening night for the New York Jets. If you're new to our channel, make sure to give us a like. Join us in the live stream now. We want to get your comments. But if you're joining us later or you want to listen to us on a podcast, don't worry. You can catch us out wherever podcasts available. But make sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe. We are here for Jets post game. We have a lot to talk about. We will keep you up to date on all the latest comments. There are a lot of comments that I am interested in hearing about from Robert Saleh. I guess the only person affiliated with the New York Jets after opening night is Hassan Reddick, who saw this Jet team got absolutely no pressure up front. And then almost as a slight, I think, middle finger to Jet fans, as I'm adjusting my hair in the live stream. Like the guy who we have been banging the table for the Jets to get rid of, and the guy we didn't want out their defensive end, Michael Clemens, who was stalwarted all night, somehow gets a sack. There's some positives to take out of this, but I think the theme of this is going to be panic or patience. And there is a lot to not like about this game, but I want to start off with this and the few positives for this Jet team. Number one, no major injuries after week one. Number two, and I know this might sound like a hollow victory, I think that this offense showed a lot of nice flashes. Again, the run game wasn't there tonight, but you see this offensive line protected Aaron. This is one of the best defensive lines in football. One of the things that San Francisco has is great cohesion on both offense and defensive lines. This Jet team, for all purposes, this was their first game. And basically, the NFL now has become week one, week two are preseason games because no one plays in the preseason. And given all the rust, given the fact that Aaron Rodgers hadn't taken a snap in 12 months, considering he finished a full game in almost 18 months, considering the fact that the Jets' best new weapon on the outside, Mike Williams, whose pitch count we thought would at least have some pitches, it was like a pitch, not a pitch count, a pitch tonight. But instead, I thought the offense moved well. I thought Aaron looked in command of this offense. I thought he got into a rhythm. And overall, yes, this offensive line didn't create the running lanes we were hoping for. This was their first week as a unit, but the most important thing they did was protect Aaron Rodgers. And here's the thing from this game. This offense, I think, is going to get better. This is one of the best defenses they went against in the NFL, and a defense, might I remind you, that's had a lot of cohesion. They don't have a lot of new pieces on that defense. This is truly one of the best defenses. There's a reason this team was in the Super Bowl. There's a reason the 49ers are well respected. There's a reason many people have them on the short list for the Super Bowl. And of course, the Jets, with their luck, get them for the home opener. Not the home opener, the opener. My apologies. But here's the thing. There are certain things, though, in this game that do infuriate you as a Jet fan. Overall, could the offense have been better? Sure, but consider this is their first time with 3 new offensive linemen. Their number 2 receiver barely played in this game. I thought that they showed signs of life. And here's the thing. This is probably the best defense they will play all season. I think that the offense will get better as the season progresses. Here's the problem. This defense got their lunch money taken to them. And look, I think one of the losses in camp that we didn't talk about, Fotu, the defensive tackle they got from the Cardinals, who they brought in as their run stuffer, was going to be out the first couple of weeks. That has been a huge loss. But if you were someone that criticized the JFM trade like I did, if you were someone that was dying to get Hassan Reddick in there, if you were worried about this pass rush, all of those chickens came home to roost because Jermaine Johnson did not have a good game. I thought Quinnen, when he started the game, had a good game, but he got bottled up pretty quick. It's clear that this is a great offensive line they're going against. The one thing I would say, relax a little bit about this game is, yes, I understand it's frustrating that it wasn't CMC, but some unknown running back that ran circles around the Jets. But here's the problem. Do you know what the coach's name is? Shanahan. Do you know what that family tree has a history? It has the history of finding running backs that you have to Wikipedia 2 seconds before a game and turning them into 100-yard rushers. That's what the 49ers do. This is an offense that is together. They have their offensive line together. They have a good offensive line, and you could tell that they bullied the Jets in this game. I don't think the Jets will face an offensive line like this again this year, if that's any solace. But if you were someone that's banging the table for Hassan Reddick to get paid, if you were someone, and I was in this quarter for JFM to not be traded, this was a night where you're like, see, this was not a good look. And the other big thing that this defensive line did, which was incredibly infuriating, was they just couldn't wrap up. They couldn't get to make the tackles. And then the weirdest thing in this game is Sauce Gardner gets taken out of the game. It's reported that it's not for a medical issue. I am dying to see what Robert Saleh has to say. And let me say this, because ESPN dropped the ball on this one where they didn't ask the one question every Jet fan of what went on with Sauce Gardner to Saleh at halftime. If that's not the first question out of the beat reporter's mouth, it has to be the third or fourth question, because that is the question Jet fans want to know. Why was Sauce Gardner, arguably the best corner in football, arguably the best player on this entire defense that was getting pickpocketed by Brock Purdy at that point, why was he not in the game? I do think that this team now, they have to win on Sunday. I think that the offense, you can explain some of these things. It's a new offensive line, Aaron Rodgers with Russ. This defense, a lot of these guys have been here. A lot of these guys have been great, and this is the one thing you will be concerned about, because here's the thing. Did the passing offense really kill the Jets? No. It was the running game. The Jets got the ball run down their throat. It wasn't creativity. It was just pound the ball down the Jets' throat to the point where they were so tired and so desperate to stop the run. It was pitch and catch off of play action. This is a frustrating night. I get it, Jet fans. I understand the frustration. I understand the anger. I understand the angst. And the big thing, too, is if you were not a fan of Robert Saleh, the one thing you could say was, well, at least this defense looks good. At least this defense is respectable. And I know I've said that this is probably the best total offense from offensive line, playmakers, and quarterback, all three levels, that the Jets will probably face this year. Will they face better quarterbacks? Sure. Will they face this type of offensive line again? Probably not. Will they face this type of depth again in the wide receiver room? Probably not. But here's the thing. If you are this Jet defense, you have to be embarrassed. And I hope that they come out and look at Will Levis as fresh meat on Sunday, because they were embarrassed on national television. Because it wasn't that the Jets were getting torched out there. They were getting bullied. That defensive line was getting bullied out there. And I'm sorry about this, but one thing that annoyed me before this game was, yes, I understand that you want to have pass rushers. And I like Braden McGregor. I think he's got a bright future. But can you explain to me how, when you're facing a team that you know wants to run the ball down your throat, you don't have your 6'5", 275-pound defensive end in Eric Watts who could play inside? You don't have Leonard Taylor, who was disruptive on the inside. If there was a game where you could get away with less edge rushers, this was the game. You needed beef on that defensive line. You needed something to get in the way. Not light Will McDonald, not McGregor, not these light defensive ends. I get that you want to get to the quarterback, and that's important. But of all the teams this year that are going to want to run the ball, guess what? The 49ers, they run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Checks, notes, play action, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Okay, I am going to take a break to take all of your comments right now. Again, I want to stress this. This is week 1. This is a long season. And this is an opportunity that they are a team that has holes. Yes, I didn't love all the play calling tonight, but I felt a lot better about this offense than I have in years. Yes, I'm frustrated that this offense didn't score 20, but do I think this offensive line did a better job protecting their quarterback? Yes. Do I think that their offense is building at least toward the right direction? Yes. This defense, to be honest with you, I think it will get better, but man, it's frustrating. And one player, who thought this would be the Allen Lazard revenge game? Please, chat, did someone start Allen Lazard and win with him in fantasy? Because if you were to tell me, or a prop bet, that he was going to have not 1, but 2 touchdown catches in this game. Granted, he had one of the worst drops you will ever see, but I guess he's getting his confidence back. Wow. Okay, you guys are blowing up the chat. Let's get to it now. Again, guys, do me a favor. If you start to see some of the press comments come in, please let me know. I'm just doing my best. Although my favorite is there's a clip on line of Rodgers just Hackett tried to talk to him, and Rodgers just like, nah, I'm good. I got this. So, wow. The other thing, too, that annoyed me, too, is how is Braylon Allen not getting touches in this game? Like, I get Breece Hall was having a rough night running the football, but when you have that big back, like, could you maybe try to wear down that defense a little bit, split Breece out wide? I hate to say it, that looked like a 9-win versus a 13-win team to me. I still think the Jets are a double-digit team. AVT, Justin, he's coming off the Achilles and he didn't play action. Like, this is the thing with the offense. I don't want to give a full pass, but when you consider the offensive line didn't play any snaps and if AVT, who's coming off an injury, this is one of those things, like, it's going to be rough the first 2 or 3 weeks, this offensive line. But I will say they were great in pass protection. AVT, I cut him a little slack. I'm cutting this offense slack because, again, they're showing me at least that they can protect the quarterback. They can move the football. Where was this Jets defense that was their bread and butter? Where was that? This team is done. I love the optimism right now. I mean, yeah, we are definitely going to see this. Look, I get the frustration. I get the annoyance here. But, man, guys, like, look, I still think this is a team that is going to compete for the playoffs. Like, this, to me, was the toughest team they are going to play all year. Shanahan is the best offensive coach in this league, and you can make a case he might even be better than Andy Reid, but Andy Reid just happens to have some guy you might know his name, Patrick Mahomes. Shanahan is the best offensive mind in football right now. I think you can look at that. Like, look what he gets out of Brock Purdy. Look at what he get out of the running game. The Shanahans, whatever it is, whatever Kool-Aid they drink, they can basically take a grocery bagger from a shopping center anywhere in America, put a helmet on him, and he'll somehow gain 100 yards and carry for 4.5 yards. Like, they'll find someone. They will find something to work with the running game. They have always done that. It's been that tree. Look at his father, go to 49ers history, and then you add CMC, and it's just, gravy on everything. But, man, like, they just develop running backs. They just do. Tippmann was a disappointment. He moved no one ever one time. He was on his heels this game. I think I saw Praise Grandma power through it. Defense need to show up. No pressure. AVT looks slow and weak out there. AVT injuries are taking a toll. He got moved all day. Again, guys, this is probably the best defensive line they're going to play all season. This is the first time AVT has played football since coming off of an injury. If he looks like this in week 5, then yes, I will be concerned. And this is the frustrating part of football. This is the one thing I just look at it and say, football's hard because it's 17 sprints that are a marathon. If the Jets go out and win the next 3 games, we'll be feeling a lot better. If they go out and torch the Titans and they go out and win the next 2 games, and next Thursday night they're 2-1, will be singing a lot different too. Again, they have to win. There is no question. And I get where a lot of you are coming from. And here's the thing. If you were not a Saleh fan, this was not a good night for Robert Saleh, because this was his opportunity to prove to everyone that he was a defensive guru. And instead, his old buddy just beat him bad. Yet again, Jets are laughing stock on prime time. I get to go to work and get mocked all day. Hey, I get the frustration, Justin. I get that. Like, I get that, the frustration. But look, I still think that this is a team that is still going to have a great season. I know it feels hopeless tonight, but a year ago, we knew the season was over. It didn't matter how great Zach Wilson did in the preseason. We were here after Monday night last year going through a list of basically how the football gods kicked us in the nuts again, and now we have to play with Zach Wilson. We were going through every freaking scenario of, could they bring back Joe Flacco? Could they bring back this quarterback, that quarterback? Like last season, this is the difference. Last season, if you remember, the Jets won on opening night. And let's be honest, we all knew it in the bottom of our hearts the season was over at that point. We knew it. They lose tonight to a team that's probably going to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. That's one of the best coached teams, a team that is the perennial powerhouse in the NFC, a team that basically has been together for years, where the Jets trotted out there with 3 new offensive linemen tonight, a quarterback that has taken 4 snaps in the last 12 months. And yes, it was ugly. Yes, it could have been a lot prettier. But this is the thing. You get the 49ers out of the way. And I kept saying this leading up to this game. I get the frustration, and I understand why people are so upset about this. And I understand that when you lose week 1, it feels like a gut punch. I get it. Braylon did play on the last drive. I get that. But this was a night where if you have to take anything, Aaron Rodgers moved the football. Aaron Rodgers, if you look at the rest of this schedule, should be the favorite quarterback in the majority of the games the Jets will play. Name me on the Jets schedule a better offensive line that they are going to play the rest of the season. Name me an offense they're going to play that is totally better than this. Will they play some better quarterbacks? Sure. Were they going to play, even without Christian McCaffrey, an offense with Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle? Like, what team are they going to play? And this is the other thing. This is on, like, the road. And, yes, this is a gut punch. Yes, I get that they scored. The defense is a concern here. But, look, I get the frustration, but I'm trying, I'm trying to be as positive as I possibly can. The thing is, I do think that the offense is going to at least improve. I think that the offense can build off of this. The problem I have is this defense showed a major weak link. They have to make an adjustment to get that fixed. And I'll tell you another thing, which kind of terrifies me. I've given Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich a lot of flowers the last 2 years about this defense. And tell me if I'm crazy, chat. Tell me if I'm out of line here. And I'll get to Robert Saleh's quotes in a second. Some of them are interesting. When CJ Mosley got hurt, this defense looked horrendous. And I know what you're going to say. Well, they looked horrendous the whole game. They couldn't line up. They couldn't figure it out. And I'm starting to think to myself, is CJ Mosley like the mastermind of this defense? Like, when we're kind of here right now looking at this going, well, Aaron Rodgers is pretty much running this offense over Nathaniel Hackett. Like, we know that. But is CJ Mosley like, they say it on the broadcast, he lines everyone up. He tells everyone where to go. what's going to happen to this defense if he's not here in like a year or two? Because he wasn't out there for a few plays and it looked like the world had ended. And I'm thinking, okay, they can survive for like a little bit. Sherwood's good. Williams is good. And it was like, what is going on out there? What is going on out there? Yeah, and George, that was the thing, and I brought this up. Like, why wasn't Leonard Taylor and why wasn't Eric Watts out there? I get they're undrafted free agents, but this is a big physical football team. Let's put McGregor, who's a slight defensive end, out there. We all got Will McDonald, who's a slight defensive end. And for the love of God, Robert Saleh, stop trying to sell us Michael Clemens. I know he got a freaking sack tonight. God knows the blind squirrel found the acorn, but like, I can't tell you how many times I'm watching him when they're trying to get to the outside. He needs to hold the edge and he collapses in and it just opens up this run to the outside. It is just infuriating. Orlando C. Riddick is laughing his ass off. Well, I'm kind of wondering if the Jets will lighten their stance a little bit and say maybe instead of him going there, maybe does anyone know what car Joe Douglas drives? Can we get anyone reports on the Jersey Turnpike if one of those is heading southbound to a certain player's house right now? I'm not sure why we continue to put him in on coverage situations. He's a smart, heady player. I get it. Like, I would like to see Sherwood out there for more coverages, though. But look, I don't think Mosley. I agree with Dano. Mosley wasn't the problem. You know what the problem was? When Mosley wasn't on the field. Like, that looked like a train wreck. You know what else was the problem? Sauce. And apparently we finally got an answer. And again, we'll have to see if Sauce disagrees with this, but Sauce came out of the game because he needed to catch his breath, according to Robert Saleh. And if you remember, he got banged on the head a couple plays ago. Robert Saleh, they beat us up front. Wow. Shocker. I did not see that happening. I mean, Jesus. Hey, at least their backup quarterback played well. At least we get him out of this game knowing the backup can at least score touchdowns. Last year, we knew that wouldn't happen. Robert Saleh said the 49ers are getting the ball out of Brock Purdy's hands quick. Not a lot of opportunities to get home. Yeah, Robert, I'm sorry. There was a lot of time. There was no pressures. There was a stat at one point, I think on 28 dropbacks, the Jets had 2 pressures. Not good. Not good. And then the Jets even tried to blitz, which they never want to do, and they still couldn't get home. Like, I was disappointed because one guy I was really excited to see was Tack McKinley. And again, like, I thought he had a better game than, some of the other guys. But, man, this is just okay. The one thing I think Jet fans are not going to like is Robert Saleh. There were a lot of promising things to take out tonight on the offensive side. Yeah, I think there were positives. I thought the offensive line protected. I thought that that's a championship outfit. They introduced us to some championship football. We'll get that shit fixed, according to Robert Saleh. Only 38 plays on offense prior to Tyrod Taylor coming to relief of A-Rod. Hard to get done. This one, again, I put this more on the defense, And this is the thing, too. Robert Saleh just keeps putting his foot in his mouth because he says they need to championship football tonight. We got to get that shit fixed. Well, it was funny because you did mention before on to the announcers that, when they asked you about the run defense and they're like, oh, if we need to stop the run, we'll stop the run. Okay. 180 yards. 108 yards. I'll even throw this out there, guys. I know that the common thing tonight is going to be pay Reddick, pay Reddick, pay Reddick, pay Reddick, pay Reddick. But maybe Fotu's the key to the Jets defense. Like, am I in the minority? I know everyone. I keep seeing the Devontae Adams trade rumors. I keep seeing this. I keep seeing that. Maybe they need a run-stuffing defensive tackle at some point. Like, maybe that's the bigger need on this team because if they can't stop the run, man, and again, like, I do think San Francisco, this is what they do. They run the football, but they're probably Sherman to call defense on the field. Yeah, I do think Sherman's going to be a good defensive coach. Noticeable difference on Mosley. Rodgers looked good, man. He didn't play enough to show how good he is. That's the thing, too. Like when they got into tempo in the second half, I thought he played well. And look, I don't think he was playing with a full deck. Mike Williams was out there, but it's clear he's still easing back. It's clear Malachi Corley is getting eased into this offense. Like to me, like this Jet offense is going to get progressively better. I don't know about this defense, but one thing I was a little curious about too, and you guys can tell me if this is one thing I didn't get. I get Xavier Gibson returning the kicks, but why isn't the other return man Malachi Corley? Like, especially if they're not going to use him in the running game or in the passing game, like they keep telling us he's our version of Debo, and every play, the 49ers put Debo back there because they knew the Jets weren't going to kick to Debo, so they get the ball in the 30 every time. Can we try that with Malachi next week? I'm not saying I don't like Isaiah Davis returning kicks, but for Malachi Corley, who's a bowling ball of a man, who's known as the Yak King, maybe put him back in the kick return game. Like we saw it in the preseason. He had one of the best returns of the preseason. Like, why wasn't he returning kicks? It's just frustrating because it feels like when it's nights like this, when the fan base feels like they can call a better game plan than this team, that makes it incredibly frustrating. Rich, first down run, second down run, and now it's 37, just like last year. Yeah, I mean, it's like the Adam Gase fever dream all over again. And look, I know what the Jets were trying to do. They were trying to establish a run. They're trying to be what San Francisco is. But the problem is San Francisco, that offensive line, they've all played together. They've all been in that system. I mean, Tyron Smith, like this is his first time playing with the Jets. He's limited in practice. AVT's coming off an Achilles. This was his first time in months. I mean, Simpson and like all this is the first time this unit has played together. Like San Francisco, 4 of the 5 have played together, and the one that wasn't, he's been in their system for 2 years. So it's not that big of a difference. Yeah, I do think part of the defense too was at some point this defense just got so worn out. But still, the problem was they put themselves in that position. The problem was the Jets were still in this game. It was 16-7, and you all know what we were thinking. You come out the half, 3 and out, or at least get them to punt, give the ball to Rodgers. If the Jets even kick a field goal, 1 possession game, we have a football game. Instead, the worst thing possible. Not only do the 49ers score, but they take 7.5 freaking minutes off the clock. And I think that's one of the reasons the Jets offense took a while in the second half to get into sync. Because if you think about it, how long was it until they touched the football? The 49ers ended that first half with a long drive. The Jets go out for a kneel down. Then you have a 15-minute half, then another 7 minutes. I'd love to know what the time was at, but probably was 40 minutes between when the Jets had drives. Like, come on. Yeah, drones. How many Jet fans are like driving or like how many? Like, maybe we should start a Kickstarter tonight. Like, Jets fans will pay the fines, like the Reddick fine box. Like, that's what we should do here. And look, like, I get like Reddick isn't the biggest issue, but I do think he would be a big help out there. Snap crowd distribution was whack. I can't wait to see the division. I got a long arm a list of guys who were invisible. Yeah, I mean, I could rattle them off. I mean, especially on the defensive side. And look, I like DJ Reed. I love the tenacity he plays with. But maybe after the guy runs for 8 yards and it's 2nd and 2, maybe don't do push-ups. Maybe do that when you're winning. I don't have a problem with you showing up a guy. Do that on like a 5-yard tackle for a loss or a great pass breakup. Sure, even if you're trailing. But when they run for 7 yards on you, you start doing push-ups, maybe do a couple more because it's not helping. Not helping. Look, I saw it, considering he was out for 10 snaps, that wasn't good. And I mean, yeah, you look at the game leaders right now, Rodgers, only 21 passes, 13-21. Breece Hall, 16 for 54. Allen Lazard, who had Allen Lazard leading the Jets in touchdown receptions and yards. Man, that no one saw that freaking coming. But man, I mean, look, the Jets defense, it wasn't good tonight. Like the offense, I think showed you something, but like Tony Adams had 1 sack, Sauce Gardner had a sack. I mean, when the defensive backs have more sacks than the D line, that's terrifying. And the one guy was Michael Clemens, and I'm like, of all the guys to get a freaking sack on the defensive line, Michael Clemens would have been on the bottom of my bingo card. He was out there majority of snaps. Yeah, Holmes popped off film more than any others. Yeah, Holmes, like, he had a really good great game tonight. Like, look, the other thing too is like I keep seeing like everyone saying forget Reddick. But man, like this is just something. Again, guys, I apologize. I'm really far back, so I apologize. I'm gonna skip some of the comments, keep them coming through. I just want to get to more recently. Flyaway Q excuses. Kev, I thought we were gonna lose 20-17 because first time playing all together, losing again to bad coaching doesn't bode well for the season. Look, I don't get George. I can't blame Saleh right now. Quincy had some nice breakups. He had some nice plays out there. And look, like this is still a really good team. I know a lot of us wanted to believe that like we were trying to use this as a measuring stick for the Super Bowl. And look, I get the excitement whenever you have a player like this. You want to believe the Jets can make the Super Bowl, but we haven't made the playoffs in 13 years. I think look, my thought is get into the tournament, put yourself in the best position to the tournament, and then think about the Super Bowl. I know we dream about the Super Bowl. I know our ultimate goal is the Super Bowl, but let's focus on getting to the playoffs. Oh God. They're a championship level group. I hope we see them again. Aaron Rodgers. Well, I know the Jets fans would not want to see that. Rodgers says I can play better. Look, I do think Rodgers again, a little bit of a rust. I thought Tony Adams, if you had to make one defensive player, I thought Tony Adams looked good. Led the team in tackles, a sack, almost had a great interception. Unfortunately, it was a bit too high. A quarterback, like Tony Adams, like if there was one guy I could say had a decent game on the defense that really stood out, it probably would be Tony Adams. Sauce Gardner, we've got to execute. We've got to make sure we get off the field. Doesn't look like he has mentioned anything about that. But, I mean, I guess, buy Alan Lazard stock at fantasy. All right. Again, let me get to some of the more recent comments again. I want to get people in here that haven't got a chance to go. Melvin, with our next few games, we can turn this around fast. I recorded for 3.5 hours. I think I came away with 30 to 45 good seconds. Oh, that sounds like a day recently. I was out there for 3.5 hours. And I think only like 30 or 45 seconds are pleasant. So that's a good one, Dane. Yeah, like, all right. Here's a couple of things. I can say that this offensive line was great in protection. This is one of the best pass rushers they're going to play, and considering they haven't played all season, I think that they are going to get better as this season progresses. I think that when Fatu comes back, that's going to help this run defense. And like I keep saying, this to me is the best team and the best coach the Jets will face this entire season. I don't think they're good. There might be a quarterback that is better than Brock Purdy they will face, but I do not see them beating this combination of coach, quarterback, receivers, and offensive line. Like, I just don't see that combination like coming down the road. I really don't. Now, again, I think a lot of people now are a little nervous about October 6th potentially after week 1. But look, I don't think the Bills are this complete. The one team I think you can maybe make the case is the Texans. But I just don't see like an offense that from top to bottom is this good. And yeah, the Jets, they already draft. I mean, we always jump ahead. You can always jump ahead. If you miss something good, we'll say it again. Look, this is my big thing too. And again, I give you, Kev, I want to see more creativity too. I get it. I understand that. Did anyone land on the IR tonight? I do not believe so. I think the only player, Mosley came back in. Sauce got the wind knocked out of him. Michael Carter at one point, but I don't think anyone else did. I said long term. I said let's do that. So Melvin, according to the Jets, he got the wind knocked out of him. I get part of me too is I kind of get where the Jets are coming from too. It's week 1. Again, this is a marathon, not a sprint. If the Jets felt that keeping Gardner out for a series was going to help him as opposed to putting him in harm's way, that's fine. Again, it's frustrating because again, like look, I think that this offense showed that they can go up against a great defense and have success. Again, considering how bad the defense was and they didn't get enough cracks out there, I feel like if this offense got another possession or two, they would have broken 20 with Rodgers easily. But unfortunately, they didn't get that opportunity. Honestly, I thought with a concussion. I hope it's not. I don't think it is. Pollard had over 100 yards to the Bears defense. Like, I don't think the Bears defense is that good. Like, who cares about the Bears defense? Like, where did that come from? One team compared, the other team was the Jets. Yeah, it didn't look like they were ready to go, but part of it too now, RJF media, unfortunately, this is the new NFL. The new NFL is, unfortunately, because now there's 17 games, the NFL treats, right or wrong, the first 2 games almost as preseason games. They are preseason games where everyone plays the full game because everyone bubble wraps everyone in the preseason. No one's taking reps. Everyone's, there's less practice. So again, like when we're wondering, like, why do these offenses look so crappy? Why do these new teams or new players look like they're struggling in their offense? Well, it's because they haven't played together. They didn't play any of the preseason. They barely did any in the practice. Like there's limited reps in practice now. And now you're expecting this offense, which again has a whole new offensive line, has a whole bunch of new pieces on the outside. Like that to me, like I saw at least something. I saw pass protection, which God forbid we haven't seen that in Jets in our lifetime with this offensive line. I saw them actually move the football and score touchdowns. Like we forget, like the Jets getting to the 50 last year times we were throwing freaking parades last year. But now this defense, like the offense, it's like, okay, when they add more pieces like Mike Williams and Malachi as the season goes on, and maybe these rookie running backs get some legs under them, okay, maybe they'll keep getting better. This defense, it's like, wow, a lot of these guys, it's just, wow. Like, look, and here's the thing. If the Jets make the playoffs, we won't consider week 1. If the Jets win a couple games, we won't remember week 1. Like, if the Jets make the postseason, we're not going to think about Monday Night Football. We're not going to think about this week 1 opener. NFL has a lot of short-term memory, and the best deodorant in the NFL is winning games. Yes, it was bad. But the Jets also, unlike last year, the Jets last year started 1-0. That was great, right? Except they didn't have a quarterback for the next 16 games. The Jets at least still have their quarterback. They still have their health. They didn't have a major injury in this first game where you're going, oh, God, our season's done or we're cooked. The Jets are healthy. They played their toughest game of the season. It wasn't pretty. It was bad. It was ugly. It was every adjective you want to throw in the book there. But I'm just going to say, oh, man, you're leaving the stream, man? Come on. Don't leave me hanging, Dano. Come on, man. All right. Give it a like and subscribe. And again, guys, if you're new to the channel, give us a like, subscribe. If you're joining us after, you can always check us out on wherever podcasts are available. Saleh is like Buck Showalter, allergic to rookies. Well, not that allergic, because if you notice, they were playing the undrafted kid at the defensive end position. I would have liked to see Malachi Corley, the Jets straight up to the 3rd round. I at least thought, like, okay, Mike Williams won't get a lot of run, but he'll at least get some snaps. That didn't happen. And then I'm thinking, okay, he'll be on the kick return. He wasn't out there for the kick return. Like, can we please let Malachi Corley return kicks? Like, please. Look, here's the biggest thing. He also, an interesting thing, Quinnen Williams says he thinks he's going to play more defensive end this year. Again, don't think that's a bad thing because it gets him away from the double teams. But the problem is, can then maybe Leonard Taylor, I'm like, okay. Sauce Gardner on why he left the game. Oh man, it was a tackle that I made. I just had the wind knock out, man. When I felt that it was good, I went back on the field. I wasn't anything other than that. And he's like, no. So at least that's good. Aaron Rodgers, no excuses. We got to play better. I've got to play better. Yeah, like, this whole team's got to play better. Our D got manhandled. Like, yeah, like I know. Like, can we like do the sobering fact? Like, because everyone's talking about Reddick, everyone keeps talking about Devontae, everyone keeps talking about trades. Maybe the Jets need more defensive linemen. Maybe they need a run stuffer instead. And look, there's some interesting things too. Momo should not bend to wreck. Look, I get it, but the pressure's not going to help with Reddick if next week the Jets, even if they win, and there's no pass rush. I mean, this pass rush was just, it was bad. And I think if you saw a spark from something on this defensive line, you would have feel better. If Jermaine Johnson had a couple of pressures and didn't have the terrible hands to the face penalty, if Will McDonald got around the edge and made a nice sack or had a couple of pressures, if McGregor stepped up and had a couple of pressures, if Kinlaw had a sack coming up the middle, like you would feel like, okay, that's something. But you can also tell too, when lines haven't played together, there's a bit of a problem. And like the one thing that this comes back to, and Fatu's coming back week 4. One thing that really hurts, and I said at the start of this show, is the John Franklin Myers trade. That is one trade I can't defend. If you're new to the channel, I am a big Joe Douglas supporter. I think Joe Douglas has done a very good job. I think Joe Douglas, considering where this roster was when he started to where it is now, has done a tremendous job. Yes, he's missed on the quarterback. I get that. Yes, there is criticism. The one thing I felt with Joe Douglas is every trade he made, I felt not only was a good offer, but I felt the Jets came out the winning end of a trade. The John Franklin Myers one made absolutely no sense to me. I know why they did it. I know that they tried because of cap saving, but I would have tried hard to renegotiate. I would try to figure out, make it work, because he was an invaluable player. Was he the best run stuffer in the world? No. But do you think he would have been a better option at defensive end tonight than Michael Clemens? I certainly think so. And look, I get this Jet defense. And look, let me also bring up another point too, because I saw this a lot on Twitter tonight with Bryce Huff. Oh, the Jets screwed up because they didn't pay Bryce Huff. Oh, the Jets screwed up because they didn't pay Bryce Huff. Oh my God, the Jets screwed up. Did you guys watch the Philly game? Because when I was watching, I barely saw Bryce Huff except for one tackle. I didn't see the pressures. I didn't see him even play over 50% of the snaps. So again, I understand why people are frustrated with letting Huff walk. I get it. But people are acting like he went out there and did a Saquon and had 3.5 sacks and a safety or something week 1. He didn't. And look, I get the whole Reddick situation stinks. Look, Scott, I love the idea from Scott, but unfortunately, Scott, he's coming out. He's playing for the Rams. That's it. Huff didn't do it. Nothing in week 1. Yes. In real time, losing JFM and Huff were horrible moves. I would say JFM's the bigger loss, Kev. And I know a lot of people will disagree because of the pass rush ability. But JFM brought something that very few people can do. Was he as great of a pure pass rusher as Huff? No. But he could play the run. He could play in. He could play out. He was versatile. He was a veteran. He worked in the system. He knew this system. And now you have guys, again, they have some talented players they've added. But the problem is they're learning the system. They're getting used to their spots on this team. Tack McKinley might have a great season, but it's clear it's a little rough because they haven't played with each other. And Kinlaw has talent, but he hasn't played in this system. So my big thing is you also can't judge this team off of one game. Yes, it's a bad example, but this is also a team that I have to keep reminding you. And I know Christian McCaffrey did not play, but if you have a head coach named Shanahan, just expect whatever running back that they drag out of the backfield or put in the backfield, it's going to rush for 100 yards on you. It just happens. It's the state of the world in the NFL. Like Like it's death, taxes, and a Shanahan rusher getting over 100 yards. Like that's pretty much what it is. Um, but I mean, Scott going with the Sue for I don't know if Sue would come back. I think he might be out. Hassan was a panic mood after losing Huff. It happened immediately after the Huff loss. I get it, Kev. Like I thought it was too. And look, I still think it was the right move at the time. I still think it could be, but I just hope cooler heads prevail. But it's bad too when even the Reddit camp on Saturday was upset that he wouldn't go talk to the Jets. So it's bad when even the Reddit camp is not happy with how he's handling it. But yeah, we better play well against the Texans. Did Tack play tonight? Yeah, he played. I don't know the percentage of the snaps, but yes, he did play tonight. Again, this defensive line. According to the Brees Hall, they just played harder than us. Said something. You need a game like this to see the standard you are trying to reach. 49ers, the team the Jets are trying to be. I mean, maybe this is a good come to Jesus moment because maybe this is just a situation where, maybe the Jets were starting to feel themselves, think that they were a good team, and then realize, oh, wait, we still have a long way to go. Maybe that sometimes you need a dose of reality. But here's the thing. The Jets schedule at the Titans, home Patriots, home Broncos, at the Vikings, across the pond, and home against the Bills. If the Jets are 4-2 by week 6, I think Jet fans will be happy. I think they will be. Move on, man. I feel better about this team than last year. Not Zach with their. Yeah, like I get the argument that the coach gets a lot with less talent, but I do think that this defensive staff historically has done well. Tonight is not something that they are going to put on their resume, but this is one of those things too. It's Saleh is saying we'll be 100% worried. I'm not worried. Well, you better be worried, coach, because your job is kind of on the line a little bit. And I'm curious too, because one of the another turn point of the game too is I love the selective ruling of the NFL where, they did the replay where Brees was short, but then the play before when he had the first down, no one called down to conveniently say, oh yeah, he made it. If they're 2-4, will not be as optimistic 13 years. I can tell you that. I think the Pats will play them hard because they've got huge offensive linemen. I mean, it'll definitely be more of a challenge. I think that the Patriots are going to trying to make it an ugly game. But look, I think it's a young quarterback. I think that the Jets can at least confuse it. Like Purdy, at least, is a veteran in the NFL now. He's played a couple seasons. He knows the system well. Look, they didn't ask him to do too much tonight. They didn't really ask him. It wasn't like Purdy was like throwing bombs all over the place and like ripping them apart. It was like, no, the running game just pounded this team in a submission and finally, just opened up so many holes. But man, it's just one of the things too, where like, again, I understand that people don't like the offensive creativity. I know people are frustrated with it too. That might be something as well. But here's the thing, like I know people want to see like more options and creativity, but look, this is the way Aaron Rodgers wants to play his offense. He wants to get to the line, not a lot of movement, read the defense and break it down. That's what it is. And again, it's not the sexiest, it's not the best thing, but that's how he wants to play. And if it works and he makes it work, great. If it doesn't, look, here's the thing. Everyone's getting fired. Yeah, passive habit at 8-minute marks for and didn't have to use the timeout. Like, yeah, like it was not good. It has not been a good weekend for the Stripes in the NFL. I'll tell you that right now. Ramondre Stevenson killed the Bengals. Yeah, I don't know what happened to the Bengals. All I know is the Bengals killed probably 70% of the survivor pools in the NFL this season. Like, be honest, chat. How many of you had that as your survivor pool pick and ended up losing on it? Like, again, I didn't do any survivor pools, to be honest with you. I mean, that's not really my thing. I prefer more of the fantasy aspect, but look, to each his own. If that's what you enjoy, I completely get it. But man, I just was looking at this going, man, like that was a stunner. I still don't think the Patriots are good, but look, the Jets have to show something after tonight. And look, as a Jet fan, I know the frustration. I get it because it's another primetime game. I know that, you're going to hear about it tomorrow. I get it. This is a long season. Look, if we're here at week 6 and the Jets have a losing record, trust me, I will be ranting and raving and saying that change needs to be made and telling you what needs to happen. But it is one game. I understand that it is one game. And even Scott had the Bengals. God love Scott. Scott had the Bengals in that game. Look, I do get it. George brings up a good point. I think the Jets need to learn. And I kind of hope maybe this is a good reminder to the Jets. I think that the Jets needed a slap of reality, which was last year. I think the thought was, well, if we only had Aaron, we'd be, this great team. And then we come into this year and, we're going to be this great team because Aaron's back. And then, you go against a team that's supposed to be a measure stick and they slap you across the face. Maybe that'll be a wake-up call for the Jets saying, hey, we got to focus because maybe we're not as good as we think we are. If that's the level we need to work to get to, we got to work harder. We got to be smarter and we got to cut down the mistakes. And look, this defense, they better come out next week because there's going to be a lot of pressure. Like, I still think that this Jet offense will be better. I think that this Jet offense will continue to grow. But man, it was frustrating because you saw it tonight. Kyle Shanahan, let's be honest, he outcoached Robert Saleh. You can't question that. Can't question it. And the thing is, this Jets defense, they need to get better. They need to force more turnovers. They need to get a better pass rush. It's just one of those games, too, where, again, I understand how frustrating this is. I understand how much of a gut punch this is. But I want to finish it with this. It is a long season. It is a long season. There was a time last year, I need to remind people, where this team with Zachary Wilson beat the Eagles and were 4-3. And we, who were doubtful, all of a sudden had all this new hope after week 7. It is a long season and a lot can change in a season. And the thing is, if the Jets win a couple of the next games, like I said, they're 4-2 by week 6. I think people will feel a lot better. And the biggest thing, too, is I think with this team, and I get how desperate we all are for that Super Bowl. I think the big thing right now is focus on getting to the tournament. I don't care if it's the last wild card. I don't care if it's in the division. I don't care where it is. Just get to the tournament and give us a shot. That's all we care about. And look, if you're Joe Douglas, you have to look at this team because I think they'll still be in a place of the trade deadline. Well, they'll be competitive. And you have to really evaluate this roster. Like, I know the sexy pick is Devontae Adams. I know the sexy is the receiver. But maybe you need some more meat on that defensive line because you can't have that happen again. And look, Hassan Reddick, it's one of those things, like, if the Jets get a deal done this week, I think people will feel a lot better. I still would say he's not playing until probably week 4. But, man, this is a situation where you just have to figure it out. And look, I know a lot of people are saying that this defense can't look a lot better, but I have to remind people they're playing the Titans next week, who have a second-year quarterback that is really struggling. I understand that the Titans ran the ball incredibly well against the Bears. I get it. It's a short week, but sometimes a short week is good because you can't focus on this. You have to go out there and you have to play. You have to go out there and turn it around. And look, it's frustrating, but I said this before. I said, look, even I was like saying, if the Jets lose and they played well against the 49ers, I'd feel great. I'd feel great. Do I feel great the way they played tonight? No, absolutely. But this is a frustrating loss. But once again, if they win the next 2 games, we could be having a whole different story next Thursday. If the Jets are 2-1 and win 2 big games, all of a sudden, this Monday night, it will sting a little less. And I want to remind people as well, the Jets won Monday Night Football last year. Yes, they won in an incredible fashion. Xavier Gipson walk up. Yay. But what was the end result? It didn't matter. It's because the Jets lost their starting quarterback. You knew after that week they had no hope. you knew the season was over. And I know a lot of people right now are sitting there in misery feeling like the season is over. I get it. It's the NFL. We build up opening day for months, over half a year. I get the excitement. I get the enthusiasm. We've been going at this for months. I've been here hyping everyone up for months. And it's frustrating when you lose that first game. It feels like the end of the world. But if the Jets make the playoffs, you're not going to remember Monday Night Football. And if we do remember Monday Night Football at the end of the season, it's going to be really simple. This whole staff's getting cleaned out. That's it. It's that simple. But here's the thing. The Jets, you get the tough one out of the way. San Francisco is the best team you play all season. Figure it out. Figure it out with Hassan Reddick. Figure it out and continue to develop this offense. And on this defense, figure it out. Because here's the stone cold truth. If they can't figure it out, they're gone. But I still think that this is a team that can turn it around and a team that can still make the playoffs. They are a talented team. They have talent on this team. I get it. I get the negativity. I get the feeling right now. And I get the frustration. I get in a vacuum. I get that it feels like the world is caving in. The Jets won a game last year in week 1, and it didn't mean anything in the long term. If the Jets finish this season 10-7 or in the playoffs, are you really going to care that they lost Monday Night Football at San Francisco? You're not going to remember that. Maybe if you went to the game, you'll remember it. Maybe if you had an experience with it. But I'm telling you, I liked what I saw from Rodgers. I like what we saw. The Jets got their hardest road game out of the year. They played the toughest defense, I think, they'll play all the year with their offensive line, by the way, playing their first game ever together. And I thought they handled the pass rush pretty well. I don't think they're going to face a defense like that this year. I don't think they're going to face an offense in totality like that again. They get that out of the picture. Again, this is a long season. If the Jets go 10-6 over the next 16, we are not going to care about Monday night in September. I know in this moment it is frustrating, but you have to hope that it works out. And again, it's a long season. And I know the 49ers are going to get better. But this is a team that, again, has a lot of talent. This was a defense that was really good last year. I don't think that they're going to be this bad. I still think that maybe they won't be a top 5 team, but they're a top 10 defense. I still think it's a really good defense. It's a long season. And like I said, they win a couple games in the next few weeks. This will fade into memory. And let me tell you, if we are remembering this at the end of the season, there will be a clean slate with the New York Jets. Thank you for joining us on Rich Sports Talk. We'll be here after every single Jets game this year with reaction. Make sure to join us. You can give us a like and subscribe wherever you are watching us on YouTube. And don't forget to check us out on wherever podcasts are streaming. We are available on Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, wherever you can stream a podcast. You can find Rich Sports Talk. Until next time, I'm your host, Nolan Rich, and this is Rich Sports Talk.